Dumelang, Sanbonani. Welcome to it once again. Manifesto Unpacked. I am Bafana Modise. And as we are heading towards election this year, a lot of young people are still undecided on which political party might bring change into South Africa and also into their lives. And as many are busy campaigning across the country, today I have a party led by Musi Maimane, Build One South Africa. In studio is Henry Masuku. Once again, this is Manifesto Unpacked, proudly brought to you by Podcast Party. Tune in, turn up, and take action. Henry Dumela, welcome. Man, I can't complain. It's a Friday. Are you well?
I'm good, my brother. It's good to see you. I think the last time I saw you was last year sometime.
Was somewhere.
End our end. But it's good to see you, man. Good to see you back. Good to see you back trying to
adjust. Ever since my accident, things have been going north and south.
I'm sorry about that. But you know what? That's life.
All in good time. Henry, today I got you here, my brother, to kind of give the youth of this country an understanding of who is BOSA, because you only know Musi Maimane as the former leader of the DA, and as someone who some may perceive as the new Nelson Mandela type of vibe. But for someone who does not really know who is BOSA and what they stand for, what is BOSA? What do they stand for?
You know what? I'll start this by saying, actually, there's a joke that goes around and it says he's the mini Mandela. But
Winnie is a mini.
Mini Mandela.
Okay.
So you ask the question, who is BOSA
Yes.
and what do we stand for? Build One South Africa is a grassroots political organization.
True.
Led and pioneered by ordinary South Africans who have lived their lives through circumstances that have, in a way, you know, it has allowed them an opportunity to see circumstances and try to come up with solutions. And these are people, not all of them are politicians. These are just general, ordinary people. So we stand primarily for the value of Ubuntu, the idea that I see you as a human being before anything else. We want to build one South Africa, a South Africa that works for all South Africans, a South Africa that prospers together with its people that reside within its borders. So I hope that answers you.
No, I think give me that Rainbow Nation effect, to say we want to build a South Africa that is united beyond race, beyond sexual, beyond whatever, South Africans, right, regardless whether you are black or white. But then Musi as a leader of the party itself, we know that it started first as targeting independent candidates, trying to get people from the grassroots to stand up for public office. And how did that one go?
So we cannot say that we've stopped in that endeavor. If you remember, we were the ones who actually fought for electoral reform.
Yes.
And we won that fight of electoral reform to now. That's why we will have, I think, plus minus 12 candidates contesting independently in these elections. That's a fight that we fought and we won that fight. Even organizationally, as Build One South Africa, we have not diverted from that grassroots leadership from leaders from the communities. If you look at currently our candidates, all of them come from different communities.
Yes.
They are leaders in their communities. Before they could even fall on the list, they had to go back to their communities and say, hey guys, I'm trying to represent you in parliament, in legislature, or wherever that I want to go. Please support me. Endorse me with 1,000 signatures. So we have not fallen off from encouraging and actually motivating people who are individuals from communities to participate in the politics. So we are still fighting that fight. Independent individuals should be included in the electoral process of this country.
One thing that I've seen was after the sauna,
Sure.
there was this strong woman, Ayanda,
Yes,
who
Ali.
came out speaking so passionately
Yeah.
around the issues, the things of Dintswalo,
Yeah.
and speaking towards the young person who was born in 1994.
Sure.
And today, that young person is standing in front of you, maybe a year earlier than that. And our realities are quite different. But what we have seen over the years is that young people have lost trust in the political system. They've
Yep.
lost trust also in the impact that their
Sure.
vote might have.
Yeah.
Your view?
Of course, that is true. I myself am a version of a Tintswalo.
Yes.
But when the president spoke that night, I did not at all feel represented by anything that he said because, like many South Africans, I've had to fend and fight to get to where I am today. So the story of Tintswalo is simply a fallacy, right? Of course, we have so many ailments in South Africa that we feel young people have been neglected in a very, very cruel way. And that has pushed young people to not care about the politics of the country because the main problem of everything that we are going through is the politics of the country or the management of the country or the governing of the country.
Yes.
So that's why you find young South Africans saying now, register to vote for what? Vote for who? You have so many of them, when you started the show, you said they're undecided. And that is a fact. Young people are undecided because they've been neglected for so long. They don't look up and say, this is a leader that I can vote for. They can't see anyone when they look for leadership. They can't. Because it's either the leadership is corrupt in one way or another, or the leadership is fighting for things that do not matter to the situation of a young person. I mean, I have friends who went to varsity, they graduated, but they're sitting at home. They've never worked in their life.
And one thing I've seen in your manifesto,
Yeah.
2 million jobs.
Yep.
Right? You're going to make sure that you're going to, in every household,
Yes.
you are going to provide a job. Right? I mean, isn't that a little bit similar to 6 million jobs? There's many other parties who are speaking about these jobs.
Yep.
Young people are unemployed.
Yep.
But I don't think it will be fair to them to keep on being promised things that they don't come. We haven't seen any job coming, or all you are seeing is retrenchments.
Sure.
All you are seeing is companies closing down, and yet there are still political parties who are saying we will provide jobs.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
So, my brother, I think you must understand that 2 million number is not just a number that we dreamt while sleeping at a hotel somewhere. That's a scientific number. If we can create 2 million jobs in South Africa right now, we should be able to put a job in every home.
Sure.
What we are trying to do by putting a job in every home, we are trying to make sure that each household has at least an income that's coming in on a monthly basis or whatever basis that they, depending on where they are operational economically. If we can do that, then we can restore the dignity of our people.
Yes.
We can make sure that our people are not abused with 350 rands, that even gets squandered in itself. 350 rands, can you imagine? So how do we create that 2 million jobs? And I'm not going to speak about those that you referred to who've promised 6 million jobs and whatnot. Obviously, that was the promise.
Okay.
We are not making a promise. We are saying this is something tangible, and we've done research. We've consulted people who say this is possible. If we can restore the infrastructure, number one, in our townships, number two, in rural areas. If we can restore road infrastructure so that there is easy in and out of goods, in and out of the rural areas and the townships, then we can try, you will see a picking up of the markets in the townships and in rural areas, therefore creating jobs. If we can make sure that we boost security in rural areas and also in the townships, then you will see investors going back to those previously abandoned areas in terms of investment. Right? If we can, the economy that we live in now is a very technological economy. If we can make sure that there is access to internet for every household in South Africa, because we're in a digital economy. People are making money through content creation. They don't have to go anywhere. They just sit at home digitally and do stuff. But you can't do that if you don't have internet. So 3 things that I mentioned here. road infrastructure, fix that. Safety in the townships and rural areas, fix that. Provide internet. Then you will see what
Jobs
happens.
will come.
Jobs will come. We want to create the jobs where the people are and where the people live.
So basically, you're going, if I'm hearing you properly,
Yes.
you're going to make the environment.
Create an environment that encourages investment, that encourages growth for small businesses. You know, there are so many young men or young people in the townships or in the rural areas who have actually tried to become entrepreneurs. And they did not fail because they are not good entrepreneurs. They failed because the environment is not conducive for their businesses to pick up and become productive.
Coming to that entrepreneurship of young people,
Sure.
one thing that I've seen, it is that we had something called NYDA.
Yep.
We have a ministry called Small Medium Enterprises,
Sure.
right? And this young people, the NYDA for some reason is not effective.
Yep.
Maybe they might have done some bit of work there and there, but we have not seen them come to the forum. And the question would be, as BOSA, are you going to improve NYDA, scrap it off, or find another means of supporting young people who are not necessarily looking for jobs, but looking to thrive within the business space?
So there's what we call a jobs fund.
Okay.
We need to create a jobs fund. That fund will make sure that any young person who aspires to be a business person or to be an entrepreneur first gets the necessary training in terms of education in line with the business they want to start, gets the necessary mentorship with people who are in that business to make sure that they can learn the skills of actually running a business. You know, it's one thing to have the idea, it's another to execute. And for that, you need the proper training. You need also proper mentorship, right? So that jobs fund will safeguard any young person who aspires to be a business person, because they will have all the resources they need to thrive in their businesses. So there are, of course, some instances where we would need to improve on the programs that we have, like the NYDA, for instance. You know, I don't even want to talk too much about the NYDA because they spend almost half of their budget paying each other.
Somebody said it's more of a graduation for
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they spend money paying each other over doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know? So there are some instances where we'd need to, where the government actually has good programs.
Yes.
But simply implementation is a mess, you know? So there are some instances where we would improve the current systems, but we think that we need fresh ideas, new ideas that will allow for people who have not been involved before to actually come and have a seat
find
at the
a
table,
space.
find a space, express themselves. Then we can find solutions together.
One critical issue, Henry,
Yeah,
the youth of this country, they have for many years been going to varsity every single year.
sure.
Only to be told that the applications were not successful. Most of them, they've been to your colleges.
Yeah.
And when you look at how NSFAS
Yeah.
is literally on autopilot, right? Do you guys support free education as BOSA? Would you endorse a free education setup? Or would you still want to prefer that those who have must pay and those who don't have, the government or your government will somehow pay it off?
My brother, I fought sidelines during Fees Must Fall. And if you remember clearly, Fees Must Fall was all about...
I was somewhere there. Yeah.
No. You were somewhere there, my brother. I was in the front line.
Yeah.
So every bullet that had to be dodged, I dodged it. Every tear gas that had to be extinguished, I extinguished it during Fees Must Fall.
Yes.
And that's an idea that, you know, that we still hold. That at some point, there needs to be a way that we can provide free education. Of course, those that can afford must pay. Those that cannot afford need not prove their poverty or how poor they are before they can be assisted by government, which is the case currently with the NSFAS that you raise.
Because the case, Henry, is that if you provide free education, then
Yeah.
how are you going to ensure? Because to run a varsity is more than just a government subsidy,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So there is a view that maybe the idea of free education is too much of political sensation, but it's not necessarily a reality or practical in a sense.
My brother, it's possible. This country is bleeding billions from mining. This country is bleeding billions from manufacturing. Did you know that we dig gold here and we sell it to we export it before it's refined? Then whoever bought that raw gold sells it back to us worth in billions. Had we refined that gold, we would have been able to sell it to them worth billions, but we're not doing that. So we need to find ways that we can retain our economy within the country. And once we can do that, and of course we need to uproot corruption. Corruption is probably one of the biggest causes why we're bleeding money. Once we close the taps for those that are corrupt and flushing money out, then we will have a fiscus that allows and
for free education.
Of course.
So you're going to increase taxes?
Look, some taxes may need to be increased. Right?
Sure.
You'd need to speak to the economist as to how exactly that's executed.
How that
and they've
model
done
work.
that. I mean, they've done that for us, but are probably not the best person to give you the figures and how and exactly how that works. But I understand. And I am of the view that South Africa is bleeding money. And if we can retain that money within the borders,
we can be able to do something.
Able to at least start the conversation about how do we fund for free education.
BOSA.
Yep, BOSA.
BOSA, sorry. I love the way with the BOSA Musi. BOSA Musi.
BOSA Musi.
Yeah. What would be your approach in terms of the public school, basic education?
Sure.
All of us can see that as much as we are clapping hands for 90% pass matric rate and whatever in high schools, but this 30%,
that thing
seems
is a problem.
it's
a problem.
It's a problem in a way because it's more like it's just a formality. You're just doing things passively. Right?
Yeah.
The quality is a problem.
Yeah.
Also, discipline is a problem.
Yes.
BOSA government.
Yeah.
What do you promise the parents or even the youth who are in schools on how would you better improve the basic education sector, including even early childhood like your nursery schools?
Yeah. I think we are very clear, at least on two things when it comes to education. ECDs are probably the most important sectors to improve.
True.
Before we get to primary school and all that. But ECDs we need to make sure that ECDs are professionalized. That's number one. And make sure that they teach the young ones understanding and meaning. There is actually a report that came out and it says that 80% of children between the ages of 3 and 8 in South Africa cannot read for meaning and understanding.
That was very shocking, yeah.
If you get to grade 4, my brother, and you cannot read to understand, if I'm reading I am a girl, to understand what that means, you're too late. You are too late as good as some of us who actually went to varsity, not knowing how to operate a computer or a laptop.
Yeah.
We spent almost 6 months catching up on the operating of a laptop while the other kids were already catching up on how to
5 steps ahead of you.
5 steps ahead of you. So we need to fix early childhood. On basic education, 30% is not a pass mark, my brother. That's a fail mark. Imagine, and I always make this example because I'm a nurse by profession. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
Imagine.
Now I know who to call when the pain starts at night.
No, but this is serious. Imagine on that fateful day, you came up to my practice or you came up to a hospital where I work and you say to me, I've just been involved in an accident and I need help. And I said, my brother, you're welcome. We're going to help you here. But just bear in mind that I only know 30% of the work or 30% of the intervention that I'm supposed to do for you. Oh, you're bleeding? Cool. We're just going to make sure you're not bleeding. Then I'll leave you there, you know? That's what the education system is teaching our kids.
And it's sad.
It's very sad, my brother.
Because as much as they clap hands for it as like a success story that, we have 100% pass mark rate in Gauteng, in the
not a success
Eastern
story.
Cape. But when you look at the marks, you're like, but people passed 45%.
You know,
50,
it's not
you know.
inspiring. We are teaching our kids to be lazy. We are teaching our kids that failure is acceptable. Just do your bare minimum and move on, my child. So we want to change that 30% pass mark. We want to make it minimum 50%. Because then at understanding of 50, you have the potential to learn more, to understand better. So change across the board, 50% pass mark. But we have also ideas around life orientation. While it's an important subject to be taught to our kids, we feel that it could be better curated for the kids to understand, you know, basic life skills that they need post-school. But the last point that I want to raise is that we are proposing a national civilian program, wherein once you have completed your grade 12, can you go and spend 6 months in a field of your interest? Say you want to be an engineer, or you want to be a nurse, or you want to be a doctor, or whatever. Can you go spend 6 months at least learning the basic theory of that? And then the rest of the 6 months, go and spend it at a workplace as practical experience before you go to varsity or college to actually learn to qualify for that particular field of study, right? That will allow our young people to learn some manners, as you were pointing out, that behavior is one of the problems in our schools. That will help them to learn some manners, not only manners, but it will kind of mold them and prepare them for the world after matric.
Here's the thing that I find with our schooling.
Yeah.
We still have learners who didn't finish matric.
Yeah.
We still have those that actually finish schooling and they don't even know what to do with, you know, like, yeah, I'm educated, but I have no experience. There's no skill that I have.
Yeah.
And what you find when you want to build a house, for an example, you don't think of Bafana. You know, you think of guys from, you know, beyond the borders to say, okay, maybe good luck can come and do the work
You
here.
know?
It worries me that you have the TVET sector
Yep.
that is not necessarily effective as
But
you
brother,
want it to be.
On TVET sectors, let me give you a statistic. Sorry to cut you off, but TVETs are only producing a 9% throughput rate at this point in South Africa.
9%.
That means that of 100 students registered at a TVET, only 9 of them go out of that TVET qualified and actually ready to participate in the economy.
That's the truth. And I
That is
can
a
tell you
fact.
from my lived experience as a former SRC president in that sector,
Yep.
that you go into class on probably the first 6 months, N4. When you get to N6, you are 13 in the class. N6 is only 5 of us.
Exactly.
Some didn't finish because they didn't have funding.
Sure.
Some just failed. They felt like they couldn't go ahead anymore.
But also, you know what? It raises a question, why is there no funding?
Because, I mean, no, NSFAS, what it does, it pays you at the end of the year. Why do
Exactly.
you need money at the end of the year? You need the
don't.
money.
You need it now
for the whole year.
to be able to learn properly. You know?
So
Yeah.
somebody said to me, maybe it's about time that we introduce some sort of a skill-based program within the education or within the basic education.
Sure.
Do you agree with that?
That's why we are rethinking life orientation.
Okay.
Because, you know, some of the problems, most in fact, of the problems that we have in South Africa, it's not like we don't have first the manpower to fix it,
Sure.
to the skill or people that are skilled enough to train others to fix it. You talk about ESCOM. We could teach our kids a quick electrical engineering course that will make them employable in an electricity producing station or something like that. We have problems. Joburg has not had water for 10 days now. My brother, a plumber.
Yes.
Are you telling me that we don't have enough plumbers to go and fix that thing in South Africa?
That's the thing. I think also your governance is an issue in this country.
Of course.
Even though you have political leaders as mayors, but governance
It's a problem.
as something that needs to be done. You are not governed. You are led, but not governed.
Yeah, so to my last point, to say that we want to rework that life orientation thing and find ways that when you come out of grade 12 or when you matriculate, you have a skill of some sort.
Yes.
You know, there's no reason why we're not giving driving lessons to our matriculants, so that when you come out of matric, you already have your license. You can be employable as a driver.
Yeah.
You know, why are we not doing that?
I think that is the problem where I've said to you that our education, basically within the basic education sector, it's just passive. It's just you to go into grade 1, finish grade 12.
Yeah.
Was born a more paid, more like
it's not futuristic. It's not designed to inspire you to become anything. It's
to
not
appetize
futuristic.
you to the future. Like
it's just
finish
to get
school.
you through, and then that's it. It's like we're sending these kids simply to an aftercare center or something. Just go, my child. I'm going to work. When I go there, spend some time, and then I'll see you later. It's fine. You know.
But there's the question that I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
President Musi Maimane has not necessarily spoken much about this issue, and it seems to be a burden to most South Africans.
Sure.
Illegal immigration.
Okay.
If you take over governance, do you deport illegal immigrants, or what do you do? How do you deal with illegal immigration in this country? Because right now, most young people, or even South Africans in general, feel like something needs to be done with our illegal immigration policy.
Sure, and I don't blame the South Africans who feel like, you know, something needs to be done.
Sure.
Of course, we do feel that something needs to be done too. We of course put all the blame on Home Affairs. We put it on the government. They are exactly the reason why we have the problem that we have.
Yes.
The borders are porous. You have Home Affairs officials who are selling identities for 350. There is actually one that's going through a case now that she's been selling identities for 350, you know? So the problem is with the systems that we have. It shouldn't be easy for a foreign national to just cross a river and go through to find themselves in Gauteng, you know? On the roads, where are the cops that are doing stop and searches? Obviously they are there, but how do these people get through? It's a system that's corrupt. They take bribes, they let them through. You know, even with this border management system, it's a politicking stunt because that system itself has already been infiltrated. They are taking bribes, those guys. That's why we have an influx of illegal foreigners in our spaces. But I do want to say that we believe that the government needs to take ownership of that and fix it. Of course, we welcome all Africans to South Africa, provided that they are here legally. Let's make our systems efficient so that if your visa is expired, you don't have to stress about going back home to renew it. Let's be able to renew it here. Let's connect our systems so that that person can be able to renew that visa here.
Okay.
You know, it's a system issue really that we have. Let's fix that system.
Deportation?
Of course, if you're illegal and you have no proof that you came in here legally and maybe something happened, your thing expired or whatever, but if you are illegal, of course, you must go back to where you come from.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. I mean, simple as that. If you are illegal in a country, I think this common practice across the world. If you are illegal in a country, you must go back to where you come from unless you can prove that you are here legally. So, yeah.
Definitely. I'm going to go into this question right here. And it's one thing that you're a young person. We are both young people. We know of... no, don't go to Tintswalo. No, I'm going now into what young people today in this country have been going through.
Sure.
One part is the groove culture, which is very good, which is fun. I would say good, fun.
Not only fun, but also very economically important.
Yes. And you also have one where there is drug substance abuse that most people tend to feel like the government has not done much in terms of providing rehabilitation centers, providing support for mental health issues that most young people go through. The suicide rates right now in this country are alarming. Even kids as young as grade 9 or 10. I'm like, dude, what's wrong? Life is bad. I'm going to kill my...
For what? You know?
Dude, you're 16.
You haven't seen anything, bro. Please breathe.
So
we're
you realize that...
We're not judging them, please.
We're not judging you,
You know, situation is bad.
It's bad. Seriously. In his reality, it's so bad and they need help. And the state has not offered that. Even our clinics don't have psychologists or people who can attend to your mental... But mental health has become a new thing. That
it's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic, actually.
It's a pandemic, it is.
So the question is, under BOSA government, should we expect to see psychologists in in clinics? Should we expect to see rehabilitation centers being built and being opened up for the youth for free? Because if you think of a rehab now, probably it's 6,000 rand a month or
You don't
whatever
afford
how
it.
much.
My brother, your
can't
mother
afford.
lives on 350.
On 350.
You can afford 6,000 rand.
Imagine, right?
Yeah.
And you have a child here, you're on social grant, your child is on Nyaupe, and you need help for the child, and you can't help. Under your government, what would be the approach of BOSA in terms of dealing with substance abuse and mental health?
I think first we must create an environment where our young people do not have to turn to substance abuse.
Sure.
Yeah. So that will be by first making sure that immediately after training, for whatever training they did, they get into active participation in the economy so that they can start building their lives. I think the reason why we have substance abuse as a pandemic is because our young people simply do not have anything to do. I drive to Soweto at least once or twice, maybe 3 times a week. And I see the same guys sitting right there by the corner where I saw them yesterday. And I always ask myself, Chief, don't you have anything to do at all? Is this where you belong, at this corner? You know what? The situation is that, yes, actually, they have nothing to do because there is nothing to do. They don't have jobs. They have looked for jobs and not found a job.
Yeah.
My brother, if we speak about the unemployment statistics at this point, they are alarming. The big picture is that 7.8 million people are unemployed in South Africa. 70% of those are young people. Right? Of the 7.8, 6 million of them have not been employed for more than a year. That's long-term unemployment. And I can tell you now, my brother, if you've not been economically active or active in your market for more than a year, the more and more it becomes hard for you to get a job because your skill is not as sharp as it needs to be. You're unemployable, basically.
True.
6 million of those people have given up looking for jobs because they go for interviews. They're simply told, look, bro, Hade, we see your CV. Yes, you are qualified, but
you can't.
You don't have the experience. And then only about 1.2 million have not been employed in the short term. That's less than a year. So we have a very bad market to employ our young people. You know, that's why we need to find ways to broaden our market and bring our young people into the economy. So I'm raising this point to say we have the pandemic of substance abuse because our young people have nothing to do. So what we want to do is to create that environment that gives our young people something to do.
I think that sounds better, but then can we expect to see psychologists in hospitals?
Of course. I think mental health...
in clinics, I mean. Yeah.
Yes. Mental health is one of the basic human rights that you should not... You know, I think the problem also is with the culture, our culture, man. Mental health is looked at ekasi as if we are losing it, maybe bamloyile or something like that. And that's why some people find it difficult to actually come out and say, you know what, actually, I'm not fine. You know. So, of course, mental health is a basic human right. And if should you ever need assistance when it comes to your mental health, you should be able to access services freely and easily. So you should be able to walk into a clinic, be able to see a psychiatrist or at least a psychology nurse who will be able to assess you and then refer you to where you need to be referred to. So our clinics should, I think even in the current state, a clinic should have a psychologist who speak. You should be able to walk into a clinic and find a psychologist. So it's just a matter of implementation. I don't think
and making sure
that those people are there. It's not like we don't have them in the country. I think I have more than 3 friends whom I went to vets with. They studied psychology, but they are unemployed.
The truth is, you still have over I think 800 doctors that are unemployed right now in the country.
Doctors, for that matter.
And there are queues in Baragwana, there are queues in Sharamateke, and they say there is no doctors available for this. But there is people out there who can't just get the job. I'm going to jump into this thing. We have something called arts, sports, and culture. Young people are, we are young, Chief. We are vibrant. We want to do sports. I want to be a soccer star when I grew up. I want to be a radio broadcaster. I want to do different things that, apart from just getting a job, but actually maybe poetry, maybe a lot of stuff.
Sure.
But you find that ever since, I don't know at what point in the country, but along the way we lost that movement of seeing choirs, of seeing pageants, of seeing talent shows.
Talent, something that
nurturing
motivates talent. Yeah,
and the last time we heard about the Department of Arts and Culture, they were building a flag for 20 million or something of that sort. And so the question becomes then that they have all these centers in communities, right? And recreational center,
anyway.
but they're dysfunctional. They're there to
swimming
host
pools are
funerals.
closed.
Yeah, they're there to host funerals for comrades, or they're hosting bashes, but they're not necessarily active and in empowering the youth, the local youth.
Yeah.
Under BOSA government, how do you ensure that the state and maybe the private sector, maybe the SABC work together to nurture talent, and even with SAFA? Because there are boys that you know, I'm sure, who played soccer and today he's, but that boy used to be great, but now he's just in the township. Right?
It didn't get great. It didn't go great.
So the question is, how do we nurture that talent and grow that space? Because not all of us are going to look for jobs. Some are literally wanting to do what they love and they need support. BOSA government, what do you promise those young people who are saying, I'm a musician or I'm a sportsman? How does this government support me? If I don't go to a high-end school, I might not make it to the box. If I don't have some friends, I might not make it to Bafana. But how do you make this thing open, accessible, and empowering to the local young person, local youth?
So first, I must say that at BOSA we take creativity very serious.
Very important.
Very, very serious. So that's why even ourselves, we are allowed to be creative about what we do, as long as it serves the purpose of BOSA. You know, we are allowed to be creative. So we take creativity very serious, be it in sports, be it in arts, in singing, rapping, whatever that young people do. I'm a young person myself. I know what I like. I didn't get a chance to do it. And I'm not going to say what it is that I wanted to do. But I did have a dream that was in the arts.
What did you want to do? Be a rapper?
I was, in fact, for some time. I performed for a bit.
You're dropping bars.
Yeah, I was dropping bars. But the thing is, the talent was never there. So
you're going to be all right.
I quickly realized that, you know what, Chief, this one is not going to happen. But we want more art centers. We want more creative hubs.
Sure.
There's infrastructure in townships. There are small parks that have been built for young men and young people to go and play basketball, play tennis, play soccer. That infrastructure is there, but it's simply poorly managed, to a point that even as a football aspirant, you find yourself not inspired to go and use that facility because it's so dilapidated. You know, you could go there and come back home naked because you're going to be robbed at that facility. There's no security in that facility. You know, so we want to now revitalize those facilities, make sure they are well managed. You know, make sure they are well guarded. You know, and then young people must be able to go and use those facilities free of charge, of course. And there must be people who are coaches in those facilities providing services free of charge. We have so much talent
and so many legends who can come and nurture.
That's what I'm trying to say. All the talent that can nurture the young ones, and it's possible. It's just that our government. It seems like our government has forgotten who the leaders are. They forgot themselves. If a mother can forget herself, she will definitely forget her child.
Sadly, that is the reality, where I remember there was a man who once said, I'm scared that one day our leaders will become bourgeoisies and they'll become millionaires and drive Mercedes-Benzes and live a luxury lifestyle at the cost of our people. That was Chris Hani. And lately is what we see. When you think of a political leader, you think of an expensive whiskey, of a lifestyle.
It's about lifestyle.
It's about lifestyle.
It's not about serving people anymore. It's about lifestyle.
It's about blue lights.
My brother, as soon as I get there, I'm moving to Cape Town, I'm moving to Sentin, I'm buying that Mac, dude.
Leadership has become a lifestyle and it's not necessarily effective in communities. And I'm going to jump into this thing now that we have seen recently. 350s. Young people are getting 350s and they've been told the relief fund. And at some extent, somebody suggested or assumed that these 350s have been used to garner votes, to push young people to be dependent and to have this fear that, you remember there was a time when they said if you don't vote for the ruling party, you might not even get your social grant. Now it has moved to 350s. And do you also think that these 350s are just for votes?
So let me answer your question like this by first saying that I think it was yesterday or day before, they want to add 20 rands to that 350, so it's going to be 370 now. Yeah. In their heads, where it makes sense. These guys are going to live a nice life now. 350, I know. At least we're trying, chief. We understand 350 is small, but here's a 20 ranyana on top, extra nyana. Pansel. Makes me so sad.
Yeah.
We don't want to create a state that has a citizenship that is dependent on the state.
A welfare state.
We don't want a welfare state. We want to create jobs so that our people are able to feed back to the state. Then we can start thinking about things of the future. Let's start thinking about robotics. Let's start thinking about technology. AI. But we can't do that now because we are using all our money on welfare. And of course, it's understandable. There are demographics that deserve to be on welfare because of the previous disadvantagement and whatnot. We understand that. And by the way, we do support welfare, except we think that we must focus more on creating jobs and creating self-sustenance. You know, it degrades your dignity to think that a man who earns more than 2 million as a president of a country thinks that 350 rands is enough for you to survive
as a citizen.
It's sad. For 30 days with your 3 kids, with your grandmother, with your... It's sad.
So what do you support as BOSA? Do you support to increase it and make it a decent amount?
Let me just finish this point. In saying that the way that the welfare system is set now, it strips our people of their dignity. It strips you of your dignity to a point that you have no other choice but to just depend on it and believe anything that's being said. As you were saying now, that there is a politicking thing that they used to say, if you vote out the ANC, the grants will go. And that's not true. Grants are not from the ANC. Grants are by the government, are by the state. Just so happens that the state, is run by the ANC. If BOSA was running the state, we would have grants of some sort. Obviously, 350 rands is not enough. For those that really need that aspect of grants, we think that it should be increased. We must find ways to increase that. While we do that, excuse me, we should also find ways to make sure that it's only people who really cannot be economically active who are dependent on grants. For the rest of the people who can be active in the economy, let's upskill them. Let's help them to do something with their lives. Either start a small business, start a project in the community, get employment where you can get employment. You know, I say it's easy because I've done it. But I do know that it's probably not easy. If 10 of us as guys from Mletsane, Soweto, woke up one day and identified a spot that is not used, a spot of land that is not used, got permission to use that spot from the councillor, and we started a tomato garden or a cabbage garden or a spinach garden, got it with our lives, dedicate everything we have. Within a space of 6 months, we could be able to start at least feeding our families. May not be thousands, but we would know that at least each member of our team can at least at the end of the week go back home with maybe 100 rand or 200 rands that they are able to feed or to supplement their family with. Not only that, but if you are producing vegetable, you are able to take some of that. Your family will never have pap with water or amasi on a daily basis. You know what I mean? So it's a fallacy that people are unemployable or there's no opportunities. It's a matter of organizing ourselves as communities and trying to find solutions so that we can get out of the dependency, the dependency that the state has created for us. Not sure if
I get you. I get you because you are basically saying that it's better to empower than just to give.
Yes,
and literally make have a dependent citizenry, and which I support.
Yeah.
Now we have something called load shedding.
yeah.
Kusile was built probably when I was younger, and with the one in Limpopo, I forgot what is the name of Midupi.
Midupi, yeah.
And you are saying you are going to find a way to fix the energy crisis in your manifesto. What are you guys going to do? I mean, it's been 15 years, and is that next thing the cold is wet?
Yeah.
What is
excuses.
Yes.
And corruption.
And you keep on saying by this year, it will be
It will
finished.
end.
By December, it will end. And you don't see it ending. So
Instead, you see it getting worse.
aren't
worse.
you saying the same thing to us? I'm going to give you a vote. And you guys are like, no, we are still working on it.
No, I'm not. Let me tell you what we are saying about the energy crisis. Of course, we acknowledge that we have an energy crisis in South Africa.
Yes.
At some point, the infrastructure of electricity production that we have in the country was sufficient. That's before 2007. Remember, we started having load shedding sometime 2006, 2007, late 2006 into 2007. Before that, the infrastructure was able to supply electricity continuously without any interruptions whatsoever. When the government of the day took over, the government of the day forgot that the population is growing.
Yeah.
And that will come with demand. There is a report that I read that there were recommendations made, I think, if not 98, to say the grid that we have now in the next 10, 15, 20 years will not be able to sustain the population growth. What did the government do? Didn't do anything. They only started scrambling recently when it got worse. We have seen a mismanagement of the infrastructure. That's failure to maintain, failure to think futuristic in terms of how do we develop and come up with new ideas to keep this infrastructure that we have going, but also to introduce new ways of producing electricity. And that's a problem with leadership. Right? It's a problem with the leadership that we have.
Yes.
Let me rather dwell on what we are proposing,
True.
on what we say we want to do.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
There is no question about whether we want to maintain what we have or not. Yes, we want to maintain what we have, but just need a new management in the offices that produce electricity. That's ESCOM, of course. We need new management. We have a vast talent in South Africa. Qualified engineers who can come up with solutions as to how do we optimize the system, the grid that we have, make sure that it's producing better electricity than it is now. Right? We have people who are qualified, but they're sitting at home simply because they will not bend to the corruption that you have to participate in for you to be able to be, to get a seat in the table of fixing the issue of ESCOM. So let's go out, let's headhunt engineers who can fix the problem that we have. But secondly, we are proposing what we call small nuclear modular reactors. Nuclear is something to look out for and is probably what will be the solution to our energy crisis worldwide. Some first world classes they do have nuclear reactors. That's why we don't have problems. They don't have problems with electricity.
So you support a nuclear deal?
We do. Not in the nature of Russia. Not in the nature that you are saying it. Not in the nature that you are saying it.
Okay.
We have people that are already in that business or that are already in that practice of nuclear. So let's partner with those people. Let them teach us how to do it for the benefit of the country.
It's better that way.
Better that way.
Because now I'm gonna go into the last part, and before we just wrap up, this is a youth focused show.
Sure.
Young people, as I've said, they're undecided.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you 2 minutes.
Okay.
As a young South African with an ID, already registered, about to go to the polls, why should I vote for BOSA? You go.
let me speak about myself as to why I'm voting for BOSA. First, I realize that 2024, the national and provincial elections, are a watershed moment for every South African. I realize that they're very monumental. I realize that if I do not participate, I am, in a way, voting to allow for things to continue the way they are. That is why I'm voting. Why am I voting for BOSA? It's because I choose leadership that is credible, leadership that has a proven track record, leadership that has a plan, or at least some well-sounding ideas and some practical ideas as to how do we rebuild and reboot our country. Because this country needs rebuilding. And it's a project of, it's a national project that every person, every South African must participate in, right? I want to vote for jobs. I want to vote for the creation of jobs for my friends who are sitting right now as we speak in Soweto, graduated from a university, not just a college, from a university, but they are sitting at home as quantity surveyors, some of them as psychologists. I want to vote for a party that says, I have this plan to create a job for you. I want to vote for a party that says, I will create a job where you live. Because I understand that asking you to go look for a job in Sentin when you live in Soweto does not make sense, because you will spend half your salary trying to get to work before you can look out for your family or take care of your family. Not only that, but you are compromised in terms of safety because you have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get 3 taxis probably to get to work. So I'm voting for a party that says, I want to create a job so that you don't have to wake up too early to go to work, but work where you live. I am voting for BOSA because it's a mix of leadership. It's not a mix of politicians. It's a mix of leadership that is a proven track record from their communities who have actually done something for their communities. I am voting for BOSA because it's a government in working. It's a government that I saw when it got to Limpopo, in Lephalale, where people were drinking water from a river, sharing that river with animals, doing their laundry from that very same river. Crocodiles lingering around. I saw that government go and drill a borehole for that community. I am voting for a government in working. I am voting for a government that is providing water tankers in KZN, in the Eastern Cape, in the Western Cape. I am voting for a government that is training young people as we speak, or at least, if training is the wrong word, that is giving guidance to young people who aspire to go to colleges and universities, who is giving that guidance. That's the organization I'm voting for. I'm voting for a party that is currently doing their work readiness, currently busy with their work readiness program that seeks to empower young people sitting in Makasi who are not employed as to how do you best perform, how do you best conduct an interview when you are called for one after applying for a job. How do you best prepare an eye-catching CV when you're applying for a job? That's what we are doing. That's what BOSA is doing.
Yes.
I am voting for Ubuntu. I am voting for humanity. I am voting for the rebuilding of South Africa. I am voting for Mmusi Maimane because he embodies everything that I've described and more.
Thank you, Henry Masuku, the DA. I'm saying DA.
We are sugel.
Sorry.
We are sugel, my brother. Correct that.
Anyway, that
correct
was,
that on record. I'm not
on
leaving
record.
This on record.
BOSA leader. He's a Young Builders president, Young Builders leader. This is the future of South Africa. Did he win your vote? Will you be voting for BOSA in the upcoming election in May? You decide. I am Bafana Modise, and this was Manifesto Unpacked, proudly brought to you by Podcast Party. Tune in, turn up, and take action. Thank you. Goodbye.
And you are voting for BOSA.